No, with all the tension that exists in the world and all the conflict and problems that go on in this place, it gets back to a simple reality. The only person that any of us is really up against in order to fulfill our humanity, and please try and, Laura, try to sit up and do the exercise. Thank you. In order to fulfill our humanity, to get spiritual enlightenment, the only person we're up against is ourselves. Because we see a world that we project. And if we open and develop a chakra system, what we see outside ourselves is a reflection of us. So instead of looking and connecting with all the chaos and craziness in life, we connect with what's good, what's wonderful about life, what's sacred about life. And in many people that's hard to find, but it doesn't matter, it's still there. And once you master your inner life, you begin to see the world differently. It's not this horrible place to live, it's a sacred place in which we all live. It's a manifestation of God's energy, and anything that happens on this planet, anything that happens around us, inside us, it's there to teach us what we need to learn about ourselves. So even the most difficult people, you got to be grateful for them because they're teaching you about that difficulty inside yourself. Otherwise, you wouldn't even identify with them. I mean, they would be like water flowing past a rock. They absolutely would not in any way bother you if something inside oneself wasn't that difficult. So it gets down to a simple reality. Life is our teacher. It's the best teacher. But we need to be strong enough inside to be able to sit in front of life and let it teach us. And that's what meditation is for. Meditation is not a spiritual life. I've said this many times. It's not religion. It's not a spiritual life. It's a craft. And the purpose of this craft, is to develop a system inside that enables us to sit in front of the real guru, and that's life. I'll never forget when Rudy told me that, I was going to Texas in order to teach. And the last thing he said to me before I left, if anyone ever asks you who the guru is, tell them the guru is life. Now, it took me about 20 years to understand what he meant about that. I finally got it. And any Swami, any teacher, their purpose is not to be a Swami and a teacher. It's not to be a guru and a rabbi and a priest. It's to help people build a system inside so that they can truly sit in front of the real teacher, which is life. Because life, in all its manifestations, is really sacred. It's God manifesting around us, creation manifesting around us. So instead of being upset at what you see, be grateful for it, because you wouldn't see it if it didn't exist inside yourself.
All right.
Does anyone have a question?
Yes.
Yes.
That being the case, what you had said there, how do we know when it's time to walk away from someone?
How do you know it's time? When you have learned what you had to learn from them, and now it's a royal pain in the ass. You walk away. You cannot, if you cannot grow anymore in the situation, you leave. But every human being has something to teach us that can make us to grow. But then at a point, we get past what that person has to teach. And then the cycle has come to an end. Another door will open, always does. 10 minutes after you leave, the door is going to open. Something's going to happen. which will open a doorway, for your spiritual growth.
Thank you.
I mean, look, I said it many times. I spent 9 years of my life in Texas. I never wanted to be there. And I built this situation that was staggering, And people said, why are you doing this? I said, because I have nothing else to do. And I want to keep myself from becoming like the people that live in this town. So it grew it was unbelievable how that thing grew. But after all of that time, I finally realized, Stuart, there's nothing else I can do here. It would all be redundant. And it was time to move back to New York City. I left because I realized that it would have potential for somebody else to be there and grow. But in my growth, I needed a much bigger and more difficult situation to deal with. I had to stop being a big fish in a small pond and go to the big pond. New York City was a big pond. We have to be smart enough to read cycles and allow them to teach us when we should move on, when they've come to an end, when another door needs to open for us to grow. And that's with relationships, it's with jobs, with business, with family, with everything you have to.
How do we get good at reading the situation?
Excuse me?
How do we get good at reading the situation?
Well, that's what you're here trying to do. Build a system that allows you to do that. You got to have a chakra system that is strong. You don't get that by putting it off. You don't get that by hiding from what you have to do in life. You get big enough to be able to embrace or walk away from a situation by building a system inside that's strong enough to do it. I mean, when I was younger, money used to really frighten me. I never wanted to be in business. I used to get jobs to earn enough money so that I, was able to eat and pay my rent. And then Rudy, one day, I'm in Texas, working my ass off, setting up ashrams all over the state, teaching in prisons, and he tells me I'm not working hard enough. I said, well, what should I do, Rudy? I said, buy that building. Well, I've told you the story a billion times, I said, Rudy, I have $600 in the bank. It was a shopping center, small strip shopping center. Anyone could do with money. That was his response. Well, that response and buying that building forced me to overcome probably one of the biggest fears I had in my life, which was money. It was an impossible thing to do, and I did it. And I threw myself in the middle of the ocean, took enormous responsibility to do it. And I grew in such an incredible way, because I knew the only way I could do that was to go to where the source of energy was in the universe and draw that energy into myself and use it to get bigger than the situation. And not to spend my life being afraid of something I shouldn't have been afraid of. And I understood, even then, I was a young guy, I understood, Stuart, the only place to get the energy to deal with this is from a higher source. I had to go deep enough in myself and build a chakra system that was strong enough to draw the energy down that enabled me to do what I did. It was the same way moving back to New York. I needed to have the energy to do it. And then I'm teaching around the world. I'm traveling all over Europe, South America, teaching. It was unbelievable what was taking place in my life. Kathmandu, we had an ashram. If I sat down for 5 minutes and thought, Stuart, how are you doing this? I probably would have run for the hills. I just did it. And I knew I couldn't do it unless I went to the source of creative energy in the universe, built a system inside myself that was strong enough to do it. And not complain about it. Yeah, I complained a little bit, but not a lot. I just did it. And yeah, I was younger then, and I had, a lot of creativity. Plus, on top of it, I wrote a dozen books. I mean, it was ridiculous. And taught ashrams, anyway, I don't want to promote myself. I'm just saying that I didn't grow because I sat on my ass and waited to grow. I took enormous responsibility on myself. And then had to go to the source of energy that allowed that responsibility to make it happen. Give me the strength to do it. And I can only be profoundly grateful to my teacher, Rudy, because what he taught me was a way to do it. A meditation technique that really worked. That's how you know. Does anyone else have a question they would like to ask? I mean, I can't work like that anymore. I mean, I had to cancel this retreat in France, something I would have never done when I was younger, But I also have to be more conscious about the way I live and how I spend my energy and what responsibilities I have. And one of the reasons I canceled it was because I have responsibility to everybody who's sitting in this class. I don't want to kill myself traveling the way I used to travel. So I canceled it. But also taken the responsibility of doing a retreat where I live every 2 months. And everyone's invited to come. I mean, if you have financial problems, remember, anyone could do it with money. Learn how to do it. Use it as a reason to grow, not as a reason to defeat yourself. Does anyone else have a question they would like to ask? I'm happy to be back. I had 5 restful days. I needed them. God bless you all for being here. I told you all many times, you were my teacher. And coming here and doing these classes and making them work and opening as deeply in I need to go to a very high place in the universe to get the energy to do this. So God bless you all and thank you. And there'll be a class tomorrow evening. And I'm looking forward to seeing everybody. Thank you. Bless you. Night.
Thank you, Stuart.
Thank you.